Thank you for being patient. We will begin this meeting at 7:01 p.m. Roll call. Everyone is here. I don't think I have to call everybody's name. It's good to have a full house. Approval of last month's minutes.
I move we approve.
I second.
They were very detailed. I didn't see
Okay.
anything different.
Yes, and thank you for holding down the fort the month I was gone.
She was magnificent.
I'm sure. Wanted to recognize our special guests this evening. To what do we owe the pleasure? You're just going to be sharing reports, or do you have
We just saw
something
you
on the
mentioned that we
agenda?
were going to be here, so we thought we would be here.
Oh, okay. Then
Yeah,
I missed that when we met.
Well, I mean, it's liaison, it's ex officio members.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Okay.
Yeah.
Excellent.
Could you introduce?
Yes.
Yes.
Yes. Would you
We
like
don't
to
know each other.
introduce yourselves,
And I know
please?
you like puffins.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes. So I'm Charlene Kelsey, and I'm new on the board as of, when was that? January?
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Great. I'm Lois Ellison, Vice President, Friends of the Longmont
Okay.
Library. I'm new too.
Well, I'm Wanda Ferguson, President of the board.
Yeah, I think I've mentioned.
We're both new. I
Yeah.
mean, new in our roles.
Yeah.
As of April, so we're just trying to get our feet wet about everything. And
Yeah.
So.
Nice
Yeah,
meeting.
me too.
And then at the end there, I think you know maybe, but we'll just for the
Yes,
sake
I
of
came
it,
to
You
one of
came
your
to-
meetings.
yes.
Yes, a few months ago, Katie. Yeah.
Katie, and then we have.
I sat next to you on Saturday.
So we know Barbara.
That's
Okay.
right.
Well, Barbara's a little bit of everything. She's everywhere.
All right.
Well,
Good.
Okay.
Happy to have you.
yes, very happy, and
Thank you.
apologies for not seeing that in the minutes that you were coming
Oh.
this month, because I would have named you explicitly somewhere on our agenda.
Oh, no, you don't need to name. I was just kind of surprised to see my name there.
Oh, okay. And I'm just ever so slightly discombobulated because I'm coming straight from a work event in Boulder, so I was rushing to be here on time. And now my brain can catch up. For a monthly icebreaker, did we have someone last month volunteer? If not, I have something, but I don't remember what I read in the minutes, if there was someone or not.
No, we did
Okay.
one last time, but then I don't think we said anything about this.
Okay. Well, the question that I thought about in the car ride from Boulder was, what is a favorite library find or discovery? Something that you were surprised. Maybe it was a book that you searched for everywhere and couldn't find, or it was something you just stumbled upon serendipitously on the shelves, or an interlibrary loan that you were like really, really excited to be able to get. So, do you have a favorite library find?
I do. I was looking in the new book section a while ago, and the Peeps dioramas were out, and there was a Peeps diorama of remarkably bright creatures, the book about the sentient octopus.
Yeah.
And I had just read it, and it was on the shelf, and this guy was looking at it, and I talked him into checking that book out. And I showed him the Peeps diorama, so I just thought it was a synchronicity.
That's really cool.
Have you guys read
actually.
that book? Anybody?
I don't.
It's fantastic. I highly recommend it. Sydney somebody read it, and soon to be a major motion picture. But it's told from the viewpoint of a sentient octopus named Marcellus.
I haven't read it yet, but I found it
Really good.
in the Friends of the Library bookshop. So I own it, but I haven't gotten to it
What's
yet.
it called?
Remarkably bright
Bright creatures.
Is it like My Octopus Teacher?
It's a novel. I mean, it is like The Octopus Teacher,
Told by the octopus.
but told by the octopus.
Do you have one, Katie?
Not at all. I'm wrapping my
I have
brain.
one. I have one. The first time I was able to go to the Library of Congress, it was
The
just,
first time.
yeah.
Sorry, I've been once.
Oh.
It's
Really?
awful. No, sorry.
It was.
Go ahead with your story.
It was just, I mean, besides the building that takes up blocks and the interior, so it was great. But they just happened to have an entire floor dedicated to Rosa Parks.
Oh.
So
Wow.
that was
Oh wow.
Wow.
a huge find.
That's
Yeah, it was
amazing.
amazing.
That's a really tough prompt.
Yeah.
Really?
Yeah.
Ju-
I'm
just-
sorry.
No, no,
I'll
it's
say
okay.
that.
Actually, last month stumped people, at least me. I don't even remember what it was.
Yeah, it was
It's your first
your first
experience
experience
about
to the
a
library or your favorite
Mhm.
library.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, John, yours could be fine in your office.
What happened?
I don't know.
Did you
No,
Awesome.
I'm just saying, if it's something you discovered at the library, you have an office here.
Yeah.
I have so many. My top one is an interlibrary loan that I was able to get through this library, but from like Oklahoma or something. There was some university library in Oklahoma. It was the only place where I could find this like really niche old book about Irish weaving and spinning and dyeing traditions. And they sent it all the way to Longmont. And I had it for like just a ridiculously luxurious amount of time. And then I gave it back. But yeah, that was so cool. I wouldn't have been able to touch that book in real life any other way. It was like hundreds of dollars on eBay to buy used and stuff. So that was cool. I'm always finding cool stuff.
She's just. Yeah, I don't know.
Well, everyone doesn't
Well,
have to go.
Yeah, I know. I know.
This is kind of, I was doing research in France on a sabbatical, and I went to the public library in Arles, France, which is in an old building, part of the square that Van Gogh painted when he was. I mean, it's just really cool.
What's the name of the town?
Arles,
Arles.
Arles, and they kept the outside of the building the same way it was, but like they gutted the inside, and it was like 2 stories and like bright green metal beams. And it was the public library there, with the kids section and everything. But their special collections was archives, really. And I was looking for information about this particular abbey, and they had this manuscript kind of put together as a book, transcribed by one of the priests that was there in the 18th century. He transcribed all these documents about this abbey, in tiny little handwriting in French.
Oh, okay.
But it was so cool to find something like that.
Was it under glass? Or could
No,
you
no. Well,
read it?
all of the stuff was stored in basement, climate controlled, and they brought it up, and then they took it back every time after I used it.
That's neat.
That was really cool.
Is there anyone else who would like to offer?
I'll do one that's kind of a combo between this week and last month. Because last month's was, prompted me. But before my town, I think I'd said previously that my town's first library was like a 500 square foot downstairs of a Victorian house. We actually did have one before that, although it's still a 20-minute drive away. It was a bookmobile, and I have vivid memories of it. We would go, it it was dark. It was in the closest grocery store was 20 minutes away, and we would go and it would be dark already. And I remember that the children's books were on the bottom, and I would just sit on the floor, and adults would like step over me. And so I don't know what I found and discovered, but I distinctly remember sitting on the floor of that thing as adults stepped over me as I was in my little space.
They didn't kick you or tell you to move or anything.
Nope.
Yeah, bookmobiles are great.
Well, thank you for playing along. Was it anybody like to think of a easier question?
Right next.
It doesn't have to be library related. I just try to make it that way.
I can come up with one for next week.
Thank you, Katie. Look at me writing it down. Okay, so I didn't know if this really belonged in new business or where it belonged, but I was looking back at what this board was talking about this time last summer, and there is like a little bit, it can be a relaxed time of the year for this board, especially if there's not like a big election coming up. And I know that I've mentioned it in past months, but really wanting to kind of move forward with some project ideas. They don't have to be big campaigns. I'm not asking for board members to, give a ton more hours outside of these meetings. I know it's difficult even to make this time work sometimes. However, I do feel like in this kind of year when we're not actively working toward ballot measure or something like that, we might have the bandwidth to dig into a smaller project. Some of that project work could conceivably happen in these meetings. It could be something as simple as a PR or public awareness campaign and putting together some testimonials, some content. Do we want to have a blog? Do we want to get our names out in the community, or say that, over the next 3 months, each of us is going to attend one community function somewhere in Longmont where we introduce ourselves as a board member and talk a little bit about the library. So I'm not trying to prescribe what it looks like. I'm really thinking it can be creative and out of the box, and I'm also not putting people on the spot to have a big long thing right now. So if anyone has something that is coming to mind, we can take a couple of minutes to just hear about it. But it might be something that I ask you to come back ready to vote on next month. What do you think?
Could I just say something?
Yeah.
Just an aside of what you guys are going to be talking about, Lois and I, as part of Friends, this year decided we've always been kind of a quiet organization that's just in our little book sales and just been a little bit quiet. And I think the last proposal that happened in Longmont for the library was really a dud. It landed as a dud because nobody really knew what the library needed, and even the city council was talking about, what does the library need? People go there, they check out a book, and they leave. Nobody really knew what the library did. And the people that work at the library, they have to sit at the library. They're really not out in the community. So as the Friends, Lois and I thought, gee, here we sit doing these book sales, but when we talk to people out in the community, they don't even know what the Friends do, usually. And so we thought, our goal is outreach, so we're doing more outreach this summer. We're trying to be out in the community more and be talking to people and introducing what the Friends do. And in addition to that, we talk about what the library has to offer. The library, with your card, you can get blah, blah, blah. But it is amazing how many people have no clue what the library has to offer and what the library does. So when the library comes up for funding, people would recognize what the library has to offer. So, and it can't happen just when that ballot measure comes up. It's got to happen. It's got to be. If it started happening now, you would have 2 years of introducing the library. That's our pitch. But that's what we're going to be doing. And we can't participate in politics because we're a 501c3. But we can introduce what the library has currently as the Friends. So anyway, that's what we're doing.
Well, and it's increased membership by
our
19%
membership
since
has
we started.
Gone up, was it 20%? 19% since April, just because of this outreach effort. You know, our little $15 a year. But anyway, that's what we're doing.
I do, yes, you had kind of talked about that at the meeting I attended. And you had talked about maybe there was kind of a calendar of events coming up where staff could use help at booths, like Unity coming up here in August.
Yep.
Things like that, that maybe folks could be there. And even just, maybe even just like board buttons, so maybe if there's a moment when the booth is too full of volunteers, because that's the ultimate goal, that somebody could wear a library board member badge and wander around. A lot of people do a lot of wandering at Unity, but we also talked about, I think at that time, this board could have more presence, the sales and things like that. That takes some thought in advance to have that on people's calendars, since we have to discuss everything here in these meetings, but something like that might work.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
It is amazing how people respond to, oh, you're part of the city council. I mean,
right. Yes, a lot of confusion.
It's really exciting to meet somebody that's part of that. I mean, people think, oh, well, I'm not that important, but you really are to the community.
Yeah.
It's outside what you really think. It's amazing.
And you all can actually discuss ballot initiatives more than us. We're not allowed to do any politics. You guys can generally do up to 10% of your time as a 501c3.
10%?
10% of your time, generally. You should make sure that you have the city attorney give you his best recommendation. It's not a solid percentage anywhere.
And it's issues, not individuals. So you can't take a partisan stance or support a candidate, but you can say, both boards can say,
that's true.
The
Both
library
boards can do
is
that.
important.
Yes.
Our community deserves the best library it can manage.
Yeah, so there's a fine line that you can walk there, and maybe that would be a good discussion. I mean, if the city attorney could kind of put a do and don't list together of what's politics, what's not,
Yeah, and from what I understand, it only becomes an issue when there is a ballot initiative.
Right.
Then, like, all the gag orders start coming in for city employees.
Okay, so like now.
But right now, I mean, I could go out there and I could go everywhere in town and tell people how important the library is, and that it's politically whatever I want to say.
Right.
There's really no rules
That's
right now.
too. Yeah.
But we also have the privilege on the advisory board to be a receptacle for questions and concerns and requests, because we represent the residents of Longmont. And so, I was trying to think, like, do we have focus groups? Do we have sort of like, how there's coffee with council? Like, do we have some dates sprinkled around where we're making ourselves available to hear what people in Longmont are thinking about or wondering about in regard to the library? We represent you, and we can take those concerns back to council, etc., weave it into our discussions with staff. So yeah, and then interviews and testimonials. Like maybe we have conversations out in the community and build, outreach and community engagement are kind of very similar. But building those connections so that, just like Wanda said, when we do get closer to maybe wanting to do something more focused, that we already have those relationships out there.
Well, I think rather than something like Coffee with Council, because then people have to take the initiative to go to that.
Right.
But if we go to something where people are already there, like these concerts they're doing one each month at 4th and Kimbark.
It's right here.
It's right here, right next to the library.
Yes.
And the Firehouse is having art booths and craft booths, so it's not just music where you're interrupting people enjoying the music. What is the staff doing as far? Are there things that are already scheduled that they're out there
with our staff?
Yeah,
we may have like a booth at one of them. I think there's 3 of those concerts.
Yeah, there's 3.
Yeah, we just as
I
far
think
as
one just happened.
One happened, and I'm not sure if we will or not.
Yeah,
we always support the DDA with all the creative district with these because they use the plaza. But so whether we have an official library presence, we have in the past. It just depends on staffing.
Well, and see, so that's what I was kind of getting at here is that maybe that is something that some of us board members could
do even instead of staff.
Instead of staff, maybe. Or,
you absolutely could.
Yeah.
And you could even have a dedicated space if you wanted. I can connect you with the right people.
Right.
I can make badges.
We've got posters.
We did all day today. We made little heart-shaped badges at Youth Pride.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
and then handouts or
official
things that
booth,
you could give us to give.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah. If there's library badges that we could just
you just kind of talk to people.
Yeah.
There's some opportunities there. It's probably a good opportunity.
Yeah.
And
they
as
happen.
You say, that's people already coming there. Right?
Yeah, exactly.
Ask me about the Longmont Library T-shirts.
Oh yeah, there you go. Well, and those concerts happen on a Saturday.
I think
they're on a Saturday.
It's either a Friday or a Saturday.
Is it a Friday?
I think it's a Friday evening.
I think it's Friday evening.
4:30. Oh, so the library closes at 5 on Fridays, doesn't it?
Yep.
Yeah. I was just thinking, if the library's still open, we can kind of
take them on
ahead. What? Have you seen the 3D printer they've got, or have you seen this, that?
Yeah. Well, and when we booth events like this, that's what we do is talk about all this kind of stuff, and we can even issue library cards. That wouldn't be a board or a friends activity, but certainly.
But at least talking about it,
it's certainly an opportunity to talk shop.
Is there? Would we or could we come up with like a short little talking point?
Like a frequently asked questions kind of sheet that you all get. We've done that for my organization of like, these are the types of questions you get just to kind of prepare volunteers ahead of time.
Totally do that.
Yeah. Or did you know the library has, puzzles, this, that, the other thing.
That reviews your books down.
Oh, yeah.
That have all of the things you get with a library card. Discovery passes, reading programs, library of things with pictures.
Which is fabulous. And I think that on top of like some canned common questions, because I think people ask other things that's not going to be in promotional materials. Like, oh, I love the library. Have you guys experienced like a lot of requests to ban books? Now, are you going to answer that? But maybe there's some kind of response you can give. I don't know. That's an
or segue, like use it as a way to talk about something else. Like I would be interested in hearing from you as director. All of the things that could be said about the library. What are the things you feel like the public really need to hear or have emphasized now?
Yeah. No, that's it's not hard to compile something. I think it's a combination of like stories that we have from library patron interactions or things, and then kind of just those elevator speeches that anyone can deliver.
Yeah.
And I think the other thing is it's an opportunity to ask whoever we're talking to about, like, do you come to the library? Why or why not? Like, what do you wish the library had or could offer? Or, like, when we talk about the ballot measure, like, I think there's also, like, if we're trying to start talking about, like, hey, by the way, the library doesn't have enough funding for all of these things. Like, I wonder if there's, like, some kind of way we can also start kind of planting the seeds for, like, wouldn't it be nice if there was another branch of the library somewhere else in town and things like that? They might be like, oh, I would go to the library, but it's far away from where I live, or whatever,
or there's no parking,
or right, exactly. And, like, I think
there wasn't today.
There wasn't one day. I was here last week too.
Yeah.
So I mean, I think there's for our role as
not just giving information,
right?
But
could we then go to council with things that we've learned from these events?
Yes.
So,
I think that's good volunteer training in general for the openness of feedback. Yeah, that's a good point.
So what do we need to do to kind of, because, I mean, this is coming up, the next one is middle of July, and there's one in August, and that's it.
Right. Oh, for the concert.
For the concert.
Yeah, like if you have a specific event, it may be something you have to talk about now rather than high level, but
Yeah.
And there's other events too coming up of opportunities of that nature. Like,
are you signed up for Unity this year?
I'm in conversation with them.
Yeah.
John is going to help us get one because the booths are really expensive.
Yeah, that.
Right.
In fact, I have a meeting with the person running Unity
so maybe you can
Wednesday.
We can share
So we could probably maybe
So
hoping to
what
get
is
some kind of
that?
space.
What is Unity?
Unity the Community is the Chamber of Commerce's annual event. It's just
When is it usually?
It's in August.
August 22nd.
Okay.
It's huge.
It's right here on the plaza.
Yeah.
Well, and it spills into the streets, but it's a fun event. And
that
that's,
sounds like a
it's
good one.
Just getting back to your point, it's a great opportunity where a lot of people come.
Yeah.
Can't the board then just commit and say we participate in your all's booth and we can work with you all to do that?
Yeah.
I mean, I think that's probably is simple enough. And if I usually we work very closely with the chamber on that event because it's on the plaza, and so we do a lot of support for them. Like, we give them like green room spaces back here. We give them space to store stuff, and we help them with electricity and water. So I feel like to get some space, but even without that, I think it's reasonable to just commit to kind of being at those events. And there's Rhythm at Roosevelt in September, which is also huge.
In September this year. Wow.
Yeah, it's the last year or two. It's been in September, and years before it was in July.
Do you know the dates on that? Because we're having our book sale on the 17th to the 20th. Ooh.
I can find it.
It's the September 6th.
Okay, that's our weekend. Okay.
It's sort of combined, like, now they do like art week and art walk before, and that kind of like that's the downtown creative district does all that art stuff, and then it kind of ends at Rhythm, which I think is kind of cool because that's basically a music event.
Twins Art Walk.
I don't think that's a thing anymore.
It's not happening again?
No, I think it's combined with now other events.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, but that's, I think, okay.
Yeah.
Well, if you're talking about like second Saturdays where the museum's doing, I think she's talking about Art Walk where they shut down Main Street and they do a big hoopla, and I think it's combined with other events.
Yeah, but they do like Art Week, or they do something that leads up to Rhythm.
Okay.
And it's art something. So anyway, we can always look these things up.
Yeah.
Do we have the date, the July date for the concert?
Oh, I just saw it.
Because what I'm thinking of is making a motion for us to have a presence.
Well, we might
at
have
these two
to.
concerts.
It's downtown Longmont, so we have to connect and see if we can have a booth and what it would cost.
I can help with that.
Okay.
because he's the person that runs that. I work closely with on that.
Okay.
And I can maybe help.
July 12th
think
is
it's
the
the
next
12th.
one, and then August 9th.
Yeah.
Okay, those are the concerts.
Mm-hmm.
And then
4:30
Unity
to 9.
in the community is August 22nd. Just check.
I'm like 99% confident with the summer concerts. I can just tell them I need a booth,
Okay.
and then whatever that ends up being.
Okay.
Yeah.
If it's
If the friends
friends
wanna
and
be
board,
there.
board and friends, library board friends, whatever it is.
Yeah.
They usually just give us whatever because we're a good partner. on
Have
them.
for sure availability for July 12th.
Mm-hmm.
Don't know yet about August 9th, but I can help on July 12th.
I think if there's just even
Yeah, I could
one
too.
or a couple of us there, it would be good.
Yeah. And maybe,
It's 4:30 to 9, so we might want to do shifts too.
yes. Yeah, because that's kind of a long time.
And this is not something that the library would have a booth at naturally.
The concerts
Right,
potentially,
potentially.
but that's still up in the air. So I wouldn't worry
Okay.
about that. And in fact, like the person that usually my outreach person, Lillian, that would generally be at those things, she has a lot going on. So like if I knew there was this type of activity instead, I would almost prefer that and not
Right.
Yeah,
And
not
her
overload
section.
her.
No.
Yeah.
The events they're great, but also, the other outreach activity that she does, which has a whole different level of impact for us of, really interacting with people that don't know about library service. And she's getting them in here and bringing it's different.
Mm-hmm.
And those events are just different of that nature. You interact great with people, but it's just a different activity.
So this is just like a procedural question then. Like, can we move or vote to for the board to have a presence at these summer events and then work out some of the logistical details offline? Like I wrote down, like we'll want to identify ourselves, we'll want to work on some talking points.
And you have to pick up booth materials ahead of time
And
too. So
booth
you'll have to have somebody,
materials.
so whoever's opening,
Yep.
whoever's closing has to kind of hold on to the materials until the library's open in the morning to drop things off, but then whoever is opening up the booth will have to pick up materials from the library at a good time before too. All that good stuff. Yeah, can we discuss that logistical stuff in email? Right now?
This is
Can we have
We-
an online, like a Google form or a sign-up sheet that we can
It's probably worse.
is it?
I don't know.
it gets wonky.
Okay.
Because basic, like the general thing is outside of this official meeting, right? If there's email communications that involve more than two people, it constitutes a meeting,
Oh,
and then it
yes.
has to be announced,
Okay.
and people have to
And
be
recorded
able
and
to
made
come
public and, yeah.
attend that, even if it's like a special meeting. So you could do it that way.
Mm-hmm.
You could say like, if we're committing to this, then in a week before that meeting, there's going to be like a subcommittee meeting of those who are attending, and then we can post it and have it open to the public. That's kind of how that would have to go.
And in that subcommittee meeting, we would only be discussing logistics.
You can discuss whatever you
ordinance.
want.
Yeah.
You just have to have an agenda, and it has to be publicly posted
And recorded.
and recorded. But it can be online.
Yep.
So we could do it as long as we
I
know
like
ahead of
that.
time, and then we're already doing Zoom
Right.
as an option. This could be 100%, and then I record the meeting. And like details of that, like if you and I interact, or you, me, and one other person only, we can arrange this before it becomes a meeting.
Right.
This is
Or
government
unless
at work for
anybody
you.
knows their schedule well enough, at least for the next one, that they can commit now.
Yeah, because the next one's 3 weeks away.
Yeah, so if anybody, like I'm
Yeah,
happy
like
to
the July one
open, I
has to
could
be
come
decided.
on the earlier in the day and pick up materials. I could set us up on July 12th, then be there from 4:30 to 5:30, for example.
Mm-hmm.
And then if other people know now, then we don't have to do that. But if we do need time for people to go and look at their schedules and see
No,
what's
I
going to
can-
work, then we can do an
I
additional
can be
meeting.
there the whole time.
I know that I am out of town.
Yeah.
Both of those.
Are you saying it's on the 12th?
July 12th.
Yeah.
So it is on a Saturday.
It's on a Saturday, yeah, that's what I thought.
Did you think it wasn't?
I thought they
No,
were
it was on
Fridays, which would make it the 11th.
Yeah.
I know it was the 12th.
I'm looking at it, it's the 12th.
Yeah, I read it in the.
Okay, so now
This
we know.
Saturday is 4:30.
Said the 12th, yeah. Yeah, I can be there a goodly part of the time at least.
Oh, goodly.
Goodly. Well, I could maybe open with her and stay and
Okay.
whatever.
So, yeah, I can't do the late part, but I could probably be there in the earlier part.
I
I
can do it.
might have a family.
We
with
don't
me.
have a closer right
So-
now.
Yeah,
I'll be the closer.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
okay.
I mean, just
And you might not need
out
to stay
here,
until
right?
9,
So
right? Like, I mean, you could always
Yeah, it could be
close it at
starting
8 or whatever, you know what I mean? Like,
Yeah, but it's a matter of putting the table, the chairs, the outreach materials in your car and then dropping them off at the library sometime in the days after.
Yeah, but I can probably get some staff to help with this too.
That's what I just did before this meeting.
Yes. Yes. I have seen you at a community events. Yes. I just don't want you to sharing with the group that yes, it's taking all that stuff to your car and being
Yeah.
responsible for it until you get it back to the library.
I'm fairly responsible, and it's right here.
It
isn't
says
it?
4th and
Okay,
Kincaid.
yeah, I'm
Yes,
not
but
like
the library is closed by then.
We know that.
Oh,
and
we're
you
fine.
won't be able to get your car closed. Again, she does events, she knows this.
Yeah.
But for everybody, you cannot necessarily get your car close to the event and you have to kind of take a couple trips and haul it to your car and so just kind of keep it in mind what it can entail when it comes to closing. No big deal.
Oh, actually, I am here on the 12th, so I can help you close.
The first thing I need to do, and it's not, I'll confirm this with you. I'm going to contact the
Yes, that's true,
LDDA
too.
to make sure that we can get a booth, which
Okay.
he will say yes. He already said, like, are you guys going to be at any of these things? And I said,
Yeah.
I'll get back to you. So
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
well,
I'll get back
if
to
you two are going to close, I can come and help open with you.
Sounds great.
Okay?
I like it.
Yeah, and stay for several
Yeah,
hours
so
at least.
we can come up with a time for me to stop by and get materials.
And I can
Yeah.
help get you all, if you want, just some library basic stuff that we generally have at our outreach events, rack cards and things like that.
you have a tablecloth.
I can get you anything you need. I have a tablecloth.
Do we supply our own tents?
We have one, so
Okay.
you don't have to. And I don't know if you need one for that, though.
Okay.
It's late enough in the day, it might not be too
Yeah,
hot.
you might just, it may be
Well,
more
let's
than you
see.
want to deal with.
Yeah,
They're,
yeah.
they're cumbersome,
Yeah, yeah.
as
I-
you know.
There's a
Kinda
lot
keep
of
an eye on the
trees
weather.
out there, so
Yeah, it's, and you're right.
pick a
it's-
spot under the tree.
You're there for a little bit of sun, and then it starts. I don't think
Yeah.
you have to worry about that, but
It's good to have a tent because you have an area.
Yeah, that's
And
true
it-
too, and it's an
it
identical.
gives people.
That's true. When people just see a table, they
Yeah.
sometimes think it's like
It's-
an
yeah.
eating table, as
It's-
opposed to like,
Yeah.
oh, this is an information booth. That's
You
actually
need
not
to-
about
Yeah.
The tent can help. We also have we have a big flag that says Longmont Library that we usually put somewhere. So, but
Okay.
we could definitely help with some of the
I've
materials.
sat with just a table. It just doesn't. You need it.
Yeah, you want to look official.
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Well, I'm comfortable having 4 of us anchor that event, and then anyone else who wants to swing by
Yeah,
and hang out.
because
Yeah.
the Friends meeting is coming up this week, right?
Wednesday.
It's Wednesday.
Yes. So if you guys want to bring it up there too, for anybody else who can join in, that would be fabulous.
So that would be July 12th, 4:30 to noon.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Do we need to do an official vote, or are we just
I
deciding
mean,
things?
I think you can. I think it
I
would
think
be-
you want to take a motion that the board's committing to be the concert series pending booth space approval, which I can confirm.
Okay.
How's that? I can't say it.
I motion that we everything you said. Be at the event on July 12th, pending the booth approval.
I second.
Hope you're writing that down.
Motion passes. And then our next meeting, which if it goes as scheduled would be on July 21st, we can have the August dates on the agenda for a vote for
Right,
then, or is that too late? Like if we want to say that we want to be at
The August-
Unity
the
in the
August night.
community.
I think you have, I mean, in my opinion, you have time. There's a concert in August and Unity, so your July meeting should allow enough time so you can have that as new business.
Mhm.
Right, so everybody just needs to make sure that they look at their calendar
Yeah.
and comes with that information. for the
Prepared
next
to-
meeting.
I won't be at that
Weigh in.
meeting.
Okay.
And neither will
When is the meeting? The 21st?
July 21st.
Email your schedules to Jamie with your regrets.
But I do
If
want
we
to
have
get
two
feedback
gone, though,
and
this
say
might be
what
an
you
issue.
guys
Yeah.
At the board meeting.
So no Barbara at the meeting.
But she'll be at
No,
Unity.
I will not be at the meeting.
Yes.
I will not be at the concert in
Right.
August. But I
Okay.
will go to Unity. I will be here for that.
We're just realizing that if two board members are absent, for August we don't have quorum.
It's the 18th.
The July meeting.
But you
July
would,
July
you would,
21st.
I'm sorry,
You won't.
July 21st.
you'll
We're
have
quorum
quorum,
of
but
three.
that relies on
Everybody being
you,
healthy.
Katie,
And
and Charlene absolutely
Charlene.
being here.
that'd be 3.
Right.
And also, if you're planning those future events, the two of us will not be helping plan those events.
Exactly.
So if you
Right.
want more manpower, woman power helping those events, we could move the meeting.
I don't know if you want to
Would-
discuss that now or in your agenda item. Doesn't matter. You,
I think we would be okay as long as you just let us know your intentions for those August dates.
Yeah.
So I don't know that you would need to be present on July 21st to participate in the planning, but if you wanted to be involved on either the 9th or the 22nd, to just get that communication out.
They're not communicating right now.
I can guess. You're not available in
Well,
August.
Not available for the concert, but I am available for the 22nd for the evening.
Okay.
I'm available for all of them actually, and would go to them with my kids anyway. So I'll just
Right.
make my husband watch the kids.
That's
I'll hang
even
with you guys
better.
and stuff.
because you can use your kids.
Yeah. Let's make buttons for them
As
too.
Just
lures.
point them for the library.
Small future library.
We'll make little
Yeah.
sandwich boards.
Yeah.
Oh my gosh.
They would love that.
Oh my gosh, that's amazing. I don't think she would do it, but I would do it just to embarrass her.
Please
I
return
absolutely-
to the Longmont Library. This board does not endorse child labor.
Oh my God.
With child embarrassment,
This is
that's
so
fine.
good.
All right. Is there anything else? I'm so glad that this provoked
Yeah,
some
yeah, we're gonna do something.
enthusiasm and
projects.
energy.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes,
I feel
you know,
busy.
I've been kind of feeling like, well, what are we doing? I'm used to having action items at a meeting.
No, I
you
know.
know?
As far as
Like,
you know,
cool.
like you
Oh yeah.
and you are here at the next meeting on the 21st?
21st.
Okay.
Yeah.
Because if there was any hesitancy, my suggestion would be for the board to consider a different date
For the meeting.
for the meeting. But it sounds like everyone's fine.
I'm not
We
going
check on Susie.
anywhere.
We need to check on Susie, they're going.
No,
No,
because
she
I'm
doesn't.
talking about quorum.
Okay.
Love to have Susie there, but I'm talking about if one
Yeah,
of you are
that's
gone, it's canceled.
Yeah.
But if we're also figuring out future things, maybe it's not as critical. But
All right.
Excellent.
Putting it in my calendar now.
Yes.
Thank you all. I think we're ready to move on.
And
How
do we
yes.
want to? Do we want to also be present at the book sale? That's is it some type of right?
That's true. We talked about that too.
Oh,
that
yeah.
our board have more presence at
Even
their
just volunteering.
So
book
it's
sales.
September 17th is set up and you get to set up starting at noon, and then that's Wednesday, and then our members get to start buying books at 3,
No, I understand.
and then that goes through to the 20th.
You said 17th to 20th?
Yeah, 17th to the 20th. And if you're just kind of mingling, setting up books and just talking to the people as they come to buy, it's just a great time just to talk and just chat with people. Why are you choosing this book? And it's a good time to just talk to people.
Yeah, I think
Introduce
board
yourself.
buttons.
Yeah,
Yeah,
but
Maybe
Yeah,
something
really good.
nicer than I'm like cranking out
Like not a sound
by
board.
hand. Well, I wonder, like, do you have a
Something
We have a
hookup?
button
enough
maker.
homemade button.
Well, we make our own
too.
too.
Well, you have the
Well, you
little
got-
badges.
the
like
library
yeah,
is
I've got
little-
one for.
Oh, yep.
That's,
Oh, that's
yeah,
good.
that's what
Yeah.
we
You have these
That's
buttons, right?
a
Like,
Tracy thing.
I can make these, but like
No, you mean like the nice, like the
make
magnetic.
it like a city
Yeah.
of Longmont.
These are
Yeah.
made at the library.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, the magnetic ones. I've
Yeah,
got
like
one
our
for
name
the
badges.
Homebound volunteer.
We have
so
a
that was what we
contract
had.
with, who is it, Tracy, where we get the staff badges?
Yeah, the magnetic ones. There's a couple different companies, but it's BBP Swag, I believe it's called. But yeah, in any case, we can definitely order those and just have it be same volunteer and the library
Yeah.
logo.
Or we could create something new, but we could use them as somebody to produce something that's not a
Yeah.
handmade button.
Are there other advisory boards or commissions that have like fancy?
I don't know.
Yes.
I can ask Art and Public Places. They might.
Or
Does
the
your
museum,
husband
I
have a
would
fancy
think.
button?
No, he does not have a fancy button that I know of. I haven't seen it.
But they're not very outreach and event oriented. That's why I'm specifically wondering. Yeah, the museum and the AIPP board are probably more similar to like
Yeah.
outreachy type space.
As far as I know, in the last 3 to 6 months, the museum board has not done any outreach and had buttons.
Sure, they have.
My husband's on the museum board, and he's not been to any outreach events.
They should
Because
give
they're
them
in
to
the
us.
active capital right now.
Well,
I've been at stuff.
they have
The city
friends.
has.
Yeah.
Yeah.
The Friends, maybe.
Yeah.
He's not
Sure.
on the board.
Well,
No,
I mean,
but it's
do we
probably
want
like the
ones
same
that
as us. Like
It's the advisory
it's
board.
right.
It's
It's
the
the advisory
advisory
board
board.
going to all of the
Library
things
advisory
as
board,
a
and
As
then
far
you
as
can
I know,
introduce
he has
yourself.
not been
And then you can
invited.
reuse the buttons.
Yes,
Yes.
yes, I'm
Yeah.
kind of
Yeah,
thinking
because
that.
Yeah, without your
Because of
name
the
on it.
button.
Yeah, because
Once
the
they
one
have
I
a
have
button,
for
it's like,
homebound
oh,
just says
button.
homebound
Once
volunteer.
he has a button, then he knows.
But
he's
that
just
helps
supposed to
people
sell it.
approach us
Totally.
when they're looking for something
Yeah.
on the shelf or something.
Yes,
you know.
yes. Okay, I'm gonna work on this. Okay, it's a creative project.
And then the other
did
thing
you have-
besides the
yes.
books, I always have another thing. You just went to city council last month, right? The meeting, and so I'm just curious. I know this is kind of a deviation, but we're talking about like project proposals and things we can do. Can you tell us about your experience and what you said?
I
there?
was going to mention it at some
Great.
point, but yeah, so I went and just signed up for my 3 minutes of fame and got up and introduced myself and reminded them of how concerned they were about helping us in any way when they interviewed me to put me on the board, and they all said, yeah, I remember that. And I just talked about that, the funding's coming up. And that I had asked at a meeting, what could I do? And the director said, well, go to a meeting, go to the board meeting, tell them we need money. So I said, I'm here to tell you that we are underfunded and we haven't had an increase in 2 years. And we all know that all the stress is going on in the world right now, that library is more important for people looking for jobs, for outreach, and talked about the need for working on issues. I mentioned adult literacy. I did it all much more eloquently, but everybody up there nodded along. And then I saw Mayor Peck at our ice cream social. So see, we have been actually out all
Outreaching.
over the place. And she said, "Oh, you look familiar." I said, "Yes, I'm the lady that was there in between all the other people talking about the airport, asking you to fund the library." She said, "Yeah, I remember you." So
I think you also mentioned that you knew that it was budget time
Yes.
and that's why she was here at this time.
Right.
Yeah, it was great. She did a great job.
I'm a good public speaker when I'm not at this meeting. But anyway, I just said we'd like a bigger piece of the pie than we've been getting. And they went,
Love it.
Yeah, it was good.
However, the money man, the manager, city manager, he wasn't there.
Yeah, that's
So,
true. He
Yeah.
walked out during that time.
So, yeah.
Well, and
Were you there?
I mean,
I was
don't
there
take
for a
it
different
personal.
issue that night.
He does that. He goes in and out during
Yes,
the
I was there for a different
No,
issue.
Sometimes it can go on.
He was
and on.
already gone. He didn't
Yeah.
leave because he saw me get
No.
up. But I will say that after I got up, a couple other people who got up to talk about other things went, "Oh yeah, and the library. We love the library." So it is true that when you get up and start talking to people,
Yeah.
they're interested.
Yeah.
And then we.
Oh, he didn't leave. He just went to the back. Well, good.
Oh,
Thank you,
thanks,
Susie.
Susie.
Well, hopefully he was taking notes.
There you go.
Well, Susie was there, and then we were both at the ice cream social, and who was the councilwoman that we were all talking to?
Oh,
She lives in the neighborhood.
Chiquita, yeah.
No, not Chiquita.
No, it's Diane.
Yeah, she lives in
Yes.
the neighborhood where the lockers are coming, and she
She
wanted
does.
to know what was going on with the lockers.
Yep.
And I kind of punted on that, but it also made me think that. But she lives in there, and she's like, "When are they coming?"
I have an
So she was
update for that later.
eager And
Oh, good.
excited about it.
Because
That's a
I
good
said I
sign.
thought it was a few months.
Yep.
But so, anyways, it does pay to get out there.
Yeah.
It does.
And I
Thank
think
you
that
so
night
much.
that you spoke was also complicated because they were discussing a very controversial issue later in the evening, and so it was packed, and people were impatient and fired up.
Was that the marijuana?
No,
No.
that was
It
this sexual offender.
Oh, okay.
But they had talked about the marijuana thing.
Yes, and so I think that's also helpful to kind of look ahead at what the agenda is going to be and see if there's any really hot button topics and maybe avoid those evenings.
Well,
in
but
the
on the
future.
other hand,
But a lot of people were there.
There were a lot
Yep.
of people from like,
And probably a lot of people tuning in at home for it too, as
Yeah,
a
there were a
result.
lot of
So
people like from my neighborhood that I just was chatting with who were there for the sex offender thing, and they're all into the library.
right. So maybe just whoever speaks, just to be prepared whether or not it's going to be crowded or not. and whether
But I mean, if
you
we're going to do it
prefer.
on a regular basis, we probably want to have more prepared messages rather than just saying, "We want more pod."
You did good.
I think it was really important. I'm sure. I don't even need to. I know that you represented us eloquently and
And sometimes I think
compellingly.
when it's too clear that it was written by somebody like me, it feels that it was written by somebody like me instead of an impassioned
Yeah.
citizen.
Authentic.
Authentic to her, yeah.
Yes.
But I also love that they got to hear that message from someone new.
Yes.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome. I kept waiting for John to call me and say, "I didn't really mean for you to go."
Not at all.
You didn't check with me.
I meant to email you way, and then the next day happens. Then it's the new day. Like, oh, I should tell him. It's amazing. Anyway.
Anything else, Nicole?
No, not yet. I'll think of more things.
That was good.
I mean,
It's still under new business. It's fine. It's
no, I
fine.
know. That was
Yeah, have a
real
little
funny.
fun.
I thought.
A little fun.
It was really funny.
All right, old business. Budget updates.
This is the John show now.
It's the.
Here we go.
I know, I'm sorry in advance. So budget updates. So what I want to tell you is, I don't know if Susie's watching this. I'm going to share anyway because that way you can see it up here.
Watching.
Oh, okay. All right. I don't know. It's enchilada night. That's not what I want to share. Hang on a second. I'm going to kind of just show you two things. So last week was our official time as external services, right? In the library, so recreation and golf and culture, and parks and open space, facilities, development services. I mean, all these departments fit within this umbrella of external services, which is massive, right? We all sit in the city council chambers and present our case to the city manager for our 2026 budget requests. And each director over those, so like our current assistant city manager over external services, he takes my requests, recreation, museum, all these facilities. I give him a ranking of what is my most important whatever, but he takes all of those and he has to give one overall ranking. And now that I'm talking about that, I should show you this other one first. And so what we do, what happens is, let me scoop this somewhere else. This is what happens when we sit in the room and talk. So,
Can you increase it a little?
Yeah, it's hard to see those numbers.
and I wouldn't get too worried. Well, I will talk to you. Is that better?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, that's
Oh,
right.
yeah,
even
that's
better.
much better.
Okay. So this department rank reflects basically like you see developing and planning services has the overall number one rank. Now these are level one, and I've talked about this before. As a reminder, what we do is with our budgets, there are 3 types of requests that we make. Level 1 requests, which are budget increases that we have no control over, right? So like a percentage increase to the cost of ebooks, for example. Things like that. In facilities land, things like utilities have gone up. Like you can't control it, we need the budget to compensate for that. Most of these year to year are never a problem, even though we still have to rank them. And so that's what all this is. And so you can kind of see here, and so what our assistant city manager does, and the assistant city manager over what we call shared services, and that is the side of the city that has IT, police, public safety, water, all these other core services that are not external facing necessarily. They have to rank. So I give my level 1 number 1 request, so does recreation, so does museum. So he just goes through and he says, all right, here's number 1, 1, 1, but then ends up being 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and then you get to my number 2, and everyone else's number 2, and he has to decide which number 2 is the real number 8. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
I try not to get too worried about the level 1 because, again, we have to have it. And as much as the library has not seen budget increases, that's always been level 2 requests. We've always have received the level 1 that we need to maintain percent increases to costs that we can't control.
I forget, does cost of living, staff raises?
That's
Is
done
that
by
level
HR
1?
outside of budget requests.
Cool. Okay.
Thank goodness.
Yeah.
Honestly, I mean, yeah. So no, we don't mess with personnel in that way. So I don't want to go through every single slide here. I just want to give you an idea of what this looks like because there's so many competing factors to the library. And what I will show you just quickly. So level 1. So you get to level 2, right? This is what we would like to have. And this is also a very odd thing in budgeting. So, and the number 1 here doesn't exist. I don't remember what happened there. But it wasn't us. Anyway. So, you see all these departments. So, here we are, Library and Culture, and a reclass for my admin assistant who is in this room. That's the number 5 request, which was my number 1 request.
Yeah.
I want to tell you something a little bit about reclasses. This is done off an HR audit on someone's job that they come in and they decide this person is doing more than what they're getting paid for. So when an HR does a job audit and it becomes a little more official, the budget system software we use won't let me put it in as a level 1 because, in my opinion, it's a must-have. HR told me I have to have it. It makes me put it as a level 2.
That's annoying.
I don't get too concerned because
HR is requesting it, and so
Yeah,
kind of
and what-
goes to a level 1 anyway.
it's just
Yeah.
sort of a technicality. But more so, and so that's the first place that the library exists here. And there's a couple other personnel, which is good, that are higher up. And then you get way down. There's like 70 some level 2 requests between all entire external services, and so a lot of our requests get put way down. What the city manager is telling us is not a lot unlike last year. That there won't level 2 are the things that you want to have, right? And regardless how I might feel, the board, anyone else who is an advocate of the library might feel like we've got to increase and support library and community growth and support the library in that way. Last year, no one in the city last year got a level 2 request. No one.
Is that excluding these audit?
The audits went through.
Okay, those all went through, but
Yep,
anything
but I didn't
beyond
have any
that-
last year.
Okay, but beyond that is when they drew the line. Okay.
Correct. They drew the line. This year, there may be some. That's a little bit better than news than last year, I suppose. So that's how that works. Now, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this. I just want to give you an idea of everything that we're competing against. And it's a horrible process to sit in this room with all these people and advocate for yourself in front of your colleagues who have equally important things that they're advocating for. That's not a great system. But that's part of being in a municipality. So you get to our requests. I'm not going to go through every single request here in the interest of time. And I've talked a little bit about high level of what I'm putting in this year, which is not unlike previous years. So our level 1s are here, but there is something new this year that I want to stop on here, which is ebooks and the audiobooks. And I did this here represents adult, and I did it for children and teen as well. This is something for some reason, never occurred to me to do in the 2 prior years that I've been here as part of the budget system, was consider cost increases to ebooks and the audiobooks. And so this is a large ask of $62,000 increase to our already $95,000 budget for adult ebooks and audiobooks. However, if you are reading through this while I'm talking, and you can see between the 2 in the last 3 years, the cost of e-books and e-audiobooks have gone up 60-some%. And that's massive. Mm-hmm. And when I presented this to the city manager, who rightly so kind of questioned me on this, I said, well, this is something that should have been asked for every year prior. This would get us to where we need to be, and going forward, then we're looking at maybe a 3 to 5%. That's a much easier pill to swallow year to year, but at least we would keep up with. Because what's happening is, without me requesting this in prior years, we are acquiring less and less content because the pricing keeps going up. And as I said in the budget meeting, I mean, the e-publishing industry is a complete racket. You need to get in this business to make money. You gotta do it. I'm kidding, I'm being sarcastic, but it really is like, it's only against libraries. Because you as a consumer can buy the same ebook for probably, depending on how you buy that stuff. Yeah, less than $10.
Yeah.
That same e-audiobook is costing us $75. Yeah. The exact same book.
But that's because you're going to loan it out to.
Well, that's the
multiple
theory,
people.
and we do.
Okay.
Don't you have, like,
But
a
they
limit
also
on how many times
expire
you-
it. So
yeah, I was
if
gonna say, it's
we
still,
lend it a certain amount of times, they make us repurchase a
Yeah.
new lease on that ebook.
Yeah, I never agreed with that model.
Yeah, that's-
It's not a finite resource in the same way.
Nope.
And I understand the publishers have to make their profit
But
too.
they make plenty of money.
But the difference between what you pay for a library for a copy of a hardcover book for a library
Yeah.
versus what I pay for a hardcover copy, not library binding, just a regular
Yeah.
book. I know there's a difference, but is it this?
Not at all.
Dramatic.
No, this is no. Print publishing is it's much more maintainable. The e industry is
Yeah.
crazy,
Yeah.
and they
Because
know
once
They
you
know
buy
it.
the print book, you've got it forever.
Yep.
They're still up there
Mm-hmm.
until they fall apart.
Because this is a level one request, is there any risk of this not getting approved? Do you think?
There's always a risk.
Do you believe that this one has drawn more attention and is riskier?
I think that the conversation we had around it between myself and the assistant city manager and helping explain to our city manager of why this exists the way it is, he seemed pretty agreeable to the fact that this is needed.
Okay, so this is not something that
Yeah.
the board needs to go talk to the assistant
Not
city
from
manager
level one.
about
No.
this year? Okay.
No. I don't believe so.
What was the number for ongoing support or maintenance? Like, this gets us to where we should be, and then hereafter, we're not asking for
I think you said
62,000.
3% in future years.
Yeah, I mean, I'm guessing.
3%.
You know, this, well, and it may be more. But
Yeah.
what I will look at year to year, which is like, okay, so in 2025, you know, we're spending on average of $52 for an ebook, and then maybe in 2026, it's $55.
Right.
So I will calculate that, and I will do the same with e-audio because it's in the same budget line for us, and I will take an average of that percentage and ask for that increase.
Okay.
It will not be 60-some%, I
jump.
hope.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because
in
we're trying
one
to
year.
catch up.
I'm trying to catch up.
Okay.
So here's what potentially could happen, Nicole.
Mm-hmm.
Getting back to your question, he could come back and say, look, that's, you know, given that I know where you need to be and we'll get there, but in year one, I'm not giving you 62, I'm going to give you 32.
Mm-hmm.
I'm laying out any possibility. So sorry, you were going to say something, but I just want to offer.
Just another kind of follow-up is like, do you have the numbers of like, with the budget that you have, how many ebooks you were able to purchase in 2022 versus how many you were able to purchase in 2024 with that same budget? Because it doesn't make sense if
So here's the thing. I have the number somewhere, and I presented this to him. It's almost not so much quantity, because we mix between purchasing for ebooks and the audiobooks. Some of those just go to existing titles to buy down hold lists that are astonishingly long. And that was the other thing that I identified in 10 years. Like the usage of e-content has gone up 1,400%, and the wait list has gone up as much. And so what we're doing with any money we get half the time is we're not buying new titles. We're trying to take a title down that has, we own 5 copies and there's 500 holds, so we're trying to get it down to 300 holds. You know, that's what happens. I'm telling you, get into this. I hate it right now, but if you just want to make money. It's crap. Anyway, so I did the same thing with children and teen, just so you know. We spend a lot less on e-content for children and teen, but it's the concept is there. All these other level ones, which are just percent increases, standard stuff I do every year. Level 2, we had 2 audits. One was Tracy's position. One was some of you know him, is Donald. He's our device specialist, but his position is classified as something that's way lower than the work he's doing, at least for the library. So that's also in there. Temp wages, this is where all our part-time employees exist within a bucket of money, right? It's not individual jobs like mine. And so there's a few sprinkled throughout of asks to increase that so we can hire more part-time staff. This particular one is tied to the last type of request, which is what we call one time, which is what it sounds like. Like we need money to do one thing, just this one time only. And those are more project related. This particular request for adult services to basically hire one person at 12 hours a week would help support a one-time request we have to create an adult literacy center upstairs.
1,200 questions a month. 1,200 questions a month.
Yeah.
Does it seem high or low?
Yeah.
It's really high.
No, it's a lot.
Yeah.
It's that. I mean, if you ever go upstairs, there's not a time where a staff member is not talking with somebody, and so we track every conversation. Yeah. So there's a lot of stuff in here with staffing. Personnel is always a big thing. Throughout. Digital products, this would be to get us really to where we need to be spending on digital content, databases, streaming services, of which we have none.
So all of these
This
things,
is outside of e-content, by the way.
all these things are for level 2, that none of them got funded last year.
We've never had
and
any
you
funding
don't
since
have-
I've been here.
And you don't really have a reason to believe that might get funded except for the audits supported.
The audits should, maybe a couple others.
So no growth.
Probably not.
Is this the first non-audit request?
No, I've been going through
No.
these.
Okay, I didn't know.
Sorry,
Yeah.
I just-
No, it's okay. It's okay. I just didn't know.
Interest of time.
Are these ranked for you?
What I'm going through here is just not ranked.
Okay, got it.
I'm just it's
Okay.
just in a
These are
PowerPoint.
hopes and dreams.
I just didn't know.
Dashed.
No, that's supposed to be level 3. It's supposed to be hopes and dreams.
Yeah, I mean, yeah, it is what it is, right? I mean,
Ranks the lowest. I don't like that.
The staff training and professional development, was that kind of what we helped you with this year?
you absolutely, yeah. In well, actually, it was in 2024, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. The Friends helped us in sending some people to a national conference that I thought was pretty important because this amount I'm asking for professional development would get us up to 20,000. We have 5.
Yeah.
That's it. It's just not. It's not anything. So.
And for master's level professionals that are supposed to be doing continuing ed as part of their
Correct.
degree.
Yep. Yeah. And so what you're seeing with the content here, which I realize I'm not letting you read all of it. I think I could probably share this out, but I did some benchmarking to libraries of similar size in the state to see what they're spending, and we're down in a low percentile of that. It also circles back to that feasibility study. Same thing, where it's just showing, with a community of this size, what the library should be supporting. We're not anywhere near. And my request, just to be somewhat realistic, is to get us closer to a level that we should be at. I'm not asking for the world yet. It's just like, let's get somewhere here. Programming and events, that's something that the Friends 100% support us on and always have. As long as I've been here, that should be, in my opinion, and I've talked about this a lot with the Friends, that should be really going to big special events, but day-to-day programming should be as a core function as it is for us to buy collections.
Yeah, the city should be paying for that.
Yeah, and I've never been in a library where this was the case. So I ask for that every year. And then here's like the adult e-books and the audiobooks on top of the percent increase. This would just get us to where we probably should be close to spending for 106,000 people.
For $600,000 more.
Yeah. And here's some of the numbers, by the way, down here. Holds placed went from 1,100 to almost 17,500. That's where I'm saying there's a 1,400% increase in interest in e-content. The wait time went from 20 days in January 2016 to 68 days as of April of this year. And that's a 240% increase on how long someone's waiting to get something. So a combination of percent increase to the cost of e-content plus the fact that we never get an increase just to be where we are at is affecting people.
Yeah, it does feel like 68 days. Yeah, that's about right.
Yep.
That's what it feels like. That's what it feels like, yes.
Yeah. And then let me, a lot of this it's various areas in the library. Adult, children, and outreach all have similar requests, similar data. That's why I'm not letting you really read it. If we get to one time, I'll talk through some of these. Did you see something you wanted
No,
to
I just think that's fascinating.
So our PA system here that we never hear in this room, which is one issue, as we should, like announcing closings in emergencies, it's outdated severely. It sometimes doesn't work.
How's that flies as a level 2, or what is a one-time?
No, this will be a one-time thing.
Yeah. Okay.
And there's a decent chance all our one-time requests will go through, but
Something like that.
I'm very cautiously optimistic, let me put it that way. This would be good to have. And in the ranking, by the way, in the overall ranking, this got ranked the highest of our one-time. Because it also serves as a public emergency system.
Yeah.
And sometimes it doesn't work.
Yeah,
So that's a problem. Our self-checks in children, those are way outdated, and it would be nice to replace those. What happened? The printers are just like the big Xerox copy scanner printers that are outdated again that we need to replace. Literacy center that I talked about upstairs.
That Windows 10 to Windows 11, that's like November of this year. Microsoft stops putting out updates for Windows 10.
Yeah.
So that is this budget cycle. Mm-hmm. Those printers are not going to communicate with any Windows 10 product for much longer past November of this year.
Which may or may not be a factor on these printers.
Okay.
These are just office copiers.
Okay.
But it may be because they're obviously networked in. Mm-hmm. So that's a good point.
And actually any machine you have.
But we're on
Windows
11.
10.
The city's on
Okay.
11.
Okay.
So I don't think that's an issue.
Okay.
It's more just that we have someone in here servicing them all the damn time.
Right. Well, because if they're used to Windows 10 operating system and now the city's running Windows 11.
Right.
Those patches will stop after November.
Right. That's correct. And I think that I think the city IT is on top of that.
Okay.
The literacy center, if you've been upstairs at any time recent, and if you know, like way in the back corner this way, there was the old automotive section, which has pretty much been cleaned out because we integrated it with the regular nonfiction. So
She's giggling about it.
Nothing related to what you're saying.
Oh, okay.
Right, I missed something. Anyway, the idea here is to enclose that off, pseudo-enclose it, and create space where we can do one-on-one tutoring with ourselves or volunteers for literacy, which is tied into the staffing that we need, so they're kind of linked a little bit. This fits very nicely into our strategic plan as a priority of literacy, so we'll see where that goes. This is pretty much like low-hanging fruit. Like I can buy us carts if I need to out of my own budget, but if we can get the extra funding to do it, we'll do it. And then more shelving in children's. We did the children's.
On the public record.
Yeah, I know. Probably not.
What?
It's just a reality.
Don't make him buy it with his own money.
No, I'm thinking like we have like a shelving cart race and like you sponsor a shelving
They
cart.
do that at library
They
conferences.
do that at
That's a
ALA.
idea.
They have
I know, but could
library
you
card
raise
drill
money
teams.
for shelving
It's
carts?
so cool.
That's a huge idea.
Um,
It's an Olympic summer. Next year, right? Next year's the Olympics.
That's right. Yeah. So that's the budget. So we presented it on last week. We had to follow up with some reprioritization that we did as a department, as external services, based off some personnel. which may benefit the library or not. I'm not quite certain of that, but what the city manager was interested in, which does not affect the library, which is other departments who had personnel requests, but that they are basically funded through revenue eventually. That's not a factor for us. So if they have positions that will get funded by revenue streams, then maybe the ones we have will rank higher, but you never know.
Yeah.
So right now it's the long waiting game. I can't imagine in July I'll have any update on what I hear back. If I do, I will certainly put it on the agenda. Maybe August. And then it will eventually go to City Council in August and September.
Okay, it goes to City Council August, September, and then you don't get approval until like November or something, right?
Well, once City Council signs off on it, which is September, October, once it's signed off on it.
Okay, September.
And their role is to simply approve. They have to have a balanced budget. They don't really weigh on the details like this.
Is there a role for this board between now and then to
So here's something I would say.
support this?
Whether it's now or in the future, going back to the external services requests that I kind of breezed through. But if you look at this, these are the Longmont Council priorities that were established, I think, 2 or 3 years ago. And we've used this, so you have the early childhood care education, and that's what's informing some of our strategic plan to do early childhood literacy and things like that we're already doing. I would say, and I don't know council timeline, I don't know when they kind of discuss, maybe at retreats or whatever, where they develop new priorities. To me, this is a tremendous opportunity where, whether it's the library specifically or very, very library-related topics, could be council priorities. Mm-hmm. But if they're setting the priorities for the city manager and the city need to follow those priorities. So you get what I'm saying? So these are the priorities we're working from now. So I'm kind of talking more down the road. We might be a little cut off.
I would love to see what core services says.
There you go.
Yeah. So does the library just fall under core services?
Right, it's interesting.
I mean,
that
it's the
parks
question to
is in
pose.
there.
So,
Yeah.
but these have been, the council established priorities for a few years now. I just think it's, I don't know the timeline, I don't know how these are developed because they've been in place since I've been here. But it just seems timely to start bending ears about what does it mean if it's core services, whatever it is, where is the library in here?
So I see 5, what's that at top? Okay, so I see 5 priorities that are direct connections to the library.
And when I did my budget requests, and I kind of skimmed through it, but I had to link it to council priorities.
Mm-hmm.
And all of them I had the same. Places and amenities, early childhood care and education, equity, safety, and sustainability is what I linked to, given the definitions.
Mm-hmm.
If I could define this, the library would be in core services.
I agree with you.
So these are things, getting back to the beginning of this meeting and talking about planning and board activities. These are conversations to maybe have with your council people.
Well, and I mean, the fact that the city does not fund any programming, and yet the priority is early childhood care and education, and like a lot of the programming there's a lot of like children's activities and stuff like that.
So I think it's an education too.
Right.
Because I think in a lot of minds that comes through youth and Youth, Family, and Child Services, which is another city department.
Transportation and climate action, by extension, if we're prioritizing walkability and safe places and interconnected communities, we have 100,000 people in one location. So only having one library location is not really pushing the needle in transportation and climate action. And for core services, I don't know how you list broadband specifically and not expand that to be access to all information.
Access to information. So this slide here, this exists on the city website. So.
Okay. This is a good reminder. I wonder if that can be woven into some of these talking points that we were referencing earlier.
I mean, it's something that the board and even the friends could talk about how they want to share information. So that kind of ends my budget update, I guess.
Okay. Are there any questions or additional comments for John?
I have no idea.
I don't think that was. Did I send you that?
Board development requests?
I don't remember seeing anything.
I must be blanking. The only thing that could mean to me is if there were any requests from any of you for presentations, training. So like, Katie, I think you mentioned earlier, could we receive some guidance or some information from the city attorney about, what is our purview, right? Things like that.
Then
Like-
we also talk about inviting somebody in the last minutes.
I think it was the assistant city manager, right?
Yeah.
Last time we talked about giving a talk at
We did.
Or Susie, you who was it that came to talk to the museum advisory board
It
about?
was Harold. It was the
it
city
Harold?
manager.
It's Harold. Okay. We talked about that last month.
Oh, she's talking.
Hear me?
Oh, now we can.
Hear me?
Yeah, it
Okay.
hesitated.
Oh, when we set our council priorities, we do that during our retreat. February, March.
February, March. That's all I heard.
Love it. Can you hear me okay?
No, it's cutting in and out.
I think you're.
It's the speaker.
Here.
Well,
No, it's fine.
it might be your mic that's cutting in and out.
We can't hear you. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
Okay. Yeah, I was moving around, so I needed to be able to hear you guys. So we set our council priorities at our annual retreat, which is sometimes February, March, around that time yearly. So the next one will be after our municipal election. So we'll even have a new, we could potentially have 4 new council people. Because we have 2 that are not running again for the at-large. And then the mayor is every 2 years, she's not running again. And who's the other one? Oh, Matthew Popkin, Ward 2. So, we could potentially have 4 new people. So that's the time that we kind of reevaluate our priorities. One of the things is we want to make sure that maybe we build off of what we have rather than taking a full 180, but looking at how we can incorporate library services and really delineate what library provides in core services, as well as early childhood education. But also, and you're not sharing the screen anymore. I don't know if you took that off, but in the council priority, it kind of has like the foundation and then the overarching. It's the 3 pillars, and then I think we have an equity band in there. Can't remember if it's at the top. Yeah, equity, safety, and sustainability. So that kind of is part of that foundation that encompasses housing for all, early childhood education, and transportation, and where that equity piece is kind of how that connects other types of services, museum, culture, economic development, and how we can incorporate all that into housing, early childhood education, and transportation. But maybe have where on those little side things where we have climate action, places and amenities, where it kind of speaks more. You know, maybe that's something that could be a good ask, is to ask us to kind of make a spot where library plays a role in some of these categories. And that would be something I think council would benefit from hearing from you all during public comment or even during the retreat, to come on out for a little bit. So I hope that helps fill in some.
So is core, is that at the very bottom cut off?
Yeah, cool. Oh, sorry.
I just think I'd like to have, if sewers are in there, I'd like to have libraries.
I know what you mean.
Well, the fact that the parks are
I know.
in there, yeah, parks
Yeah,
are in there.
and broadband, then yeah.
Well, broadband is just because it's Longmont.
Yes,
They gotta
but
put it in there
parks-
somewhere.
but Parks are there, yeah. I mean, to me, library goes with parks.
And it allows the city to function. We need a road show. We need to take our show on the road.
There you go. Thank you for that, Susie.
Yeah, it's really helpful.
Good, I'm glad.
Okay, so that was board development. Does anyone want to feel strongly about requesting a visit from someone in the next couple months, or requesting information?
Would it make a difference to you?
Budget-wise, I don't remember until it was just mentioned by you about having Harold who would come to visit. That can never hurt, you know, so we could try to get it on this calendar. Which, that's something I
think it'd be interesting, yeah.
Yeah.
I don't know if it affects what's happening, but I think the other thing that I'd be curious about is I'd like to know more about the last ballot measure and like kind of who dreamt that up and made that happen. And I honestly don't know who the players were in that. So like that could be something that could be interesting to meet with. I don't know if that was just city council being like,
I don't want to create the impression though that we're trying to reintroduce that same ballot measurement.
but if we found out a month before the next election that somebody introduced it again,
Right.
we'd be like, what? And so I'd be curious to learn more about what happened there.
I just think we should be careful about how we do it, because I don't want to create the impression that the board just wants to resurrect that.
Right.
Because every time you mention it, everybody is just, so I don't want this board to be associated with that ballot measurement. This is a different board. I just want to make sure we're all kind of thinking about
Yeah,
that.
that's
I've
a
had
good
feelings
point.
there.
Yeah, there's terrible feelings about it, and so, you know, I just think we need, I hear what you're saying.
But no, the board as it existed then was not involved in that.
Right.
And I believe neither were the friends.
Oh, we would.
So I don't think it was, so somebody was.
Right. But when people hear about the initiative, they associate us with that. I'm just.
Yeah, because the library was included.
Yeah, I mean, at least what I can tell you in that sense is, you know, for the library's part, the feasibility study really informed council of putting it on there, and then between that and like the city clerk and legal, that's what formulated the language for it and how it existed.
Okay.
The feasibility study for the library is what really informed what was on there, which was a new branch elsewhere in town. And when it got into some of the details of where it was and the size of the branch, that was a little bit of like, well, there was already land that the city owned to do it, and they wanted a rec center there too, and it started to kind of just come together that way, but it came together very fast. It felt a little chaotic to me, full honesty. Council didn't refer any of those ballot measures. They didn't refer them to the ballot until the night before it was legally due. So it didn't leave any room for any campaign. It just, and they were also, council was faced with a number of potential ballot initiatives. It was in the dozens.
Yeah.
Right.
And they had to narrow it down to 3. Well, they narrowed it down to 3. So I don't know. I don't know if that really answers your question. I don't know who to ask to help explain it.
Got it. So, but it was driven by, like, council was basically like, we're gonna put this.
It's always up, in the end, it's always up to the council to, in most cases, to refer things to the ballot, depending on what it is. I mean, there's certain ballot measures that can be citizen driven with petitions, right?
Right.
But
Okay. In this
Yeah.
case,
Right.
council took your input.
they took the feasibility study.
Yeah.
So yes. Yeah.
Okay.
But I may be wrong, but my impression was that there were people out there advocating very strongly for the rec center with an ice rink and a pool and all that kind of stuff. And, you know, the library was kind of,
Center.
yeah.
There was some advocacy for the library. In fact, the Friends did do a good deal to help us with some yard
Yeah.
signage and what they could do with the limited amount of time and
Right.
funds
Yeah,
that they
yeah.
had.
But the
Um,
fact that it was all thrown together
it was-
at the last minute.
It was, and there were 3 major initiatives. And honestly, the biggest voice in all 3 initiatives was the Arts and Cultural Center.
Yeah.
Museum won out. Had the bigger money, the bigger pots.
Well,
for
in the museum wasn't even on it because they dropped out of it. They were going to be on the ballot, and they decided to fundraise themselves.
It was terrible timing. It was
Yeah,
just
it was just
The
bad.
timing was
a
also
bunch
bad.
of things
Yeah.
at
Yeah.
once.
And
There
it
was
was
the-
too
there
much
was
all at once.
Property
People-
tax issues. Everyone in the
Yeah,
state got
nobody wanted
new
more
assessments
property tax.
anyway.
Yeah.
I remember feeling really pressured that because the timeline was so short, even what was being asked for, it felt like, okay, well, we're the board or we're the Friends and we support the library, therefore we should support this measure, whatever it is, because it gives money to the library, and there was no room or time to discuss strategy. So that feasibility study, there were like these different tiers, right? And so there was all this language that emerged about like the preferred tier, or, you know, we're not going to ask for this tier, we're going to ask for this tier. And it didn't have to be like an all or nothing
Right, and it was all asked
request.
for the top
was.
tier.
Yep.
It was, instead of just, you know, maybe we grow a little bit more slowly over time. Anyway, I think that is an important thing for us to take up at some point, like soon. I wonder if having the assistant city manager come in and like gathering more information about the process and the timeline behind all of these things would help us then have a more productive discussion about like, so when do we start asking about this, or when do we start, you know, saying, can we see the language? Can we know what's happening before it gets submitted?
Well, hopefully we're looped in and it doesn't surprise us again anyway.
Yeah,
Right.
I'm surprised it happened at all.
Right, exactly.
That's,
Yeah.
that's where we
Doesn't
should
say.
have our talking points, though, explaining, we don't necessarily want bricks and mortar first, we want funding so that we're on an equal footing with the neighboring libraries, and that we have a library that's appropriate for the number of people who live in this town. And I think that's the message we should keep making is, we don't have a library that's consistent with what our community deserves.
Yeah. Yeah.
Instead of talking about, you know,
Yeah,
branches
like
or this
specific,
or that.
yeah, specific brick and mortar, you know, that may
Right.
not be the best solution.
And that then it's up to the library to help the city understand what the library needs to get to that position, which is basically what you have in your strategic plan.
Well, and if the city budget doesn't allow the library to continue to grow to meet the population,
That's
the
the-
people do need to vote
That's
for more
right.
funding.
Well,
That's
yeah.
right. But I'm
Exactly.
saying instead of having somebody else come out and say, here's an initiative, this is what we want, it should be driven by the library saying this is where we need the money.
Would it be interesting to just see like some infographics or some visuals around what would it look like if Longmont only had enough water for 2/3 of the population, or enough broadband or park space?
Or sewers.
Because we only, or sewers for 67% of the population, because that's what this was designed to meet.
I think that's a great message.
Yeah.
Or honestly, even the numbers that are
It's
saying like,
absurd.
oh, compared to this other library that in this town next to us, like you put the name on that, and people will be like, wait, what? Boulder spends this much on their ebooks, and we only spend this much. I think as soon as you
actually
start
think there's
talking
a real
about that,
problem with that.
Yeah.
I think that's a bad strategy.
That could backfire.
That backfires.
Yeah.
I think
Boulder.
comparing it to the state is better data than the rest of the county.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, especially since they like.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah.
Unless we
Because
can-
If it's
there is
not,
a
if it's
lot
not Boulder,
of-
it was just the first town
Yes.
that comes to mind.
But
It's a different.
But the feasibility
If
study
it's birth,
was
if it's-
primarily compared to Boulder, and I do think that was
Okay.
part of the problem.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of like, well, we don't want to be Boulder anyway, you know, like there's
Yeah.
Compares to Fort Collins and Colorado Springs.
or just find an average.
Yeah.
Find an average that makes
Yeah.
take out the outliers, which it sounds like we're an outlier, and find an average.
Anywhere where there was a slide, we're the lowest.
When we're the outlier, that's the
Yeah.
real problem.
So, one thing I can say too to this is, I spent some time on some of those baseline and like the neighboring towns that I indicate is Boulder, without naming it. But, as I've been here and learned too of what drives decision making here, it's data to support a need, not just comparing yourself to somebody.
Yes.
And this is what's informing direction that I'm deciding to take, which is on a much smaller and what I think more strategic scale, i.e. the whole pickup lockers. That creates a library service somewhere on a very small, attainable scale, and I believe it'll create visibility, and people will start voicing a need for more library. But you don't need to start with a $35 million branch. You can start with this, and maybe get to a storefront branch that has programming, something that you're not spending and asking taxpayers for all that money. So I think a little bit of strategy, and then they get the data to support the library usage when you grow even on a smaller scale. That's what's going to probably be a better argument to the city as far as funding and taking our priorities for what they are, not just let's just go to the taxpayers.
So what is going on for lockers?
That will be in my director's report.
All right. So I heard that we would love to look into having Harold come to this board at some point. Is
I
that
will follow up
something?
on that.
Awesome.
That's fine.
All right.
I think I
Just
agreed to
like
do it
when
last
we
time.
now when we're at this ice cream socialist, we can say, "Hi, Harold."
There you go.
And he'll remember. Because people do remember you after they've met you.
Yeah, no, it'd be great for him to come, just so you're not wrong. So.
Okay. Director's report.
Oh,
Hello.
right.
Okay. So, here's a few things. Let me go back to sharing. Because, and I may have mentioned this in some other meetings, but our Longmont Library Esports Tournament and Festival is in full planning mode now. We even have a dedicated website for it called Level Up Longmont. And thanks to the Friends, of course, for giving the library the funds to get this going. They're seeking sponsorships to help support this outside of the Friends or in addition to, but we have what we need to get it going. Yeah, so it'll be September 27th. whole big thing. There's stuff going on before, so people that are actually gamers can register and do qualifying rounds, so that when we get to September 27th, there's actually tournaments going on that will be streamed live, and we'll have TVs in here and then Civic Center and maybe outside, where you can watch people game.
Our very own Twitch station. Is that what it's called? Is that what the kids call it? Yes. Oh, look at me knowing something.
I don't know anything. I shouldn't even be presenting this. I should have Tracy present this, because she's actually on the committee to help plan this.
I'm just looking at the food trucks.
And there's
Tasty.
That's why I will be
They like
there.
to watch each other.
So
I think that's what Twitch is. Yeah.
I just wanted to mention this is coming up, something to keep an eye on. I'll update when I have.
Very
But so there's that. The lockers. So that the RFP went out, and we had to do an RFP for it for city policy, and that I think is the end of the month deadline for people to respond. In working with our purchasing department, they advised and I agreed to present this as what they call a best value RFP, which is a lot lower scale of an RFP than a full-blown, so I won't have to field RFPs from vendors that are thousands or hundreds of pages long. They're limited to 2 pages.
Yeah.
And when we do vendor interviews, they can only have one person. And the idea is that we are evaluating on truly what is the best value. It's not solely on cost or whatever. So I spent certainly a great deal of time on minimum requirements for that, for what I knew I wanted, which in large part certainly is its functionality, but streamlining staff time to the lowest level possible, because I don't have the staff to do this, but I'm going to do it anyway. So once those are submitted, then 3 of us on staff will do vendor interviews, and then we'll do some scoring. We will not know I think the scoring is done first, I can't remember, but we won't know who the vendor is. It's all X'd out. So we're just evaluating on the user requirements, but that's the process of the city. So that could be sometime in July when it's decided who the vendor is, and then we can start working with them directly, and hopefully by the end of the year get the first one installed, which is still planned for Centennial Pool.
So we're thinking the end here.
Yep. There's a second one. The RFP is for 2 because the housing development up on around Hobart 17th, the city manager had some funds for that one. That housing development's a little bit later in development, but it was better to put the RFP out for 2. Makes sense. So we won't ask for delivery of the second one until we need it. There is, I don't know if anyone would have seen this. Let's see, where do I have this? Hang on, everything's in the way. So there's a new state bill, 25276, which has to do with, it's in large part with law enforcement and information we provide, and there's some specific things in that law that affect child care services and public libraries. And I just wanted to mention this. There's some time here. The law will go into effect July. We will have to either revise or institute some new policy around this, and it's largely tied to immigration. So that honestly, I think the bill is a good thing. It kind of helps protect us of what information we can deliver or not to law enforcement, what they have to provide. Think of ICE agents coming in and needing different subpoenas. So this allows us to create a policy to specify that, to get behind what we can or can't do. So I'll be working on that. Some I'm paying attention to other libraries who are already starting to develop policies so that I don't have to invent it. But I don't have to have an official policy in place until September. But I just wanted to let the board know about this. You may want to look up this bill yourself and kind of see what it means, especially any of you that have legal backgrounds. I would welcome your opinion, not to mention names. So I'm not too concerned about it, but we do have to have our ducks in a row and get some policy either created or added to. And then two things, just to mention, I can stop sharing this now unless you're still.
Can I ask a question about
Yes.
this? How is this? Well, is this different from conversations coming out of 9/11 around freedom of information?
That's what I'm still trying to figure out, because when I met with our
Yeah, we've done this before.
when I-
Were we here before?
Exactly, and when I met with our city attorney, I was like, we have privacy policy in place, and a lot of this is there, but I guess, I don't know. One of the biggest things I noticed in what we have to create that has to be publicly available is not just policy, but procedures, which I have a little problem with because I like to keep policy and procedures separate. Because
one staff.
yeah, and so I'm probably going to follow up with him, but what I've noticed in other libraries is they have, very specific procedures. This is what staff will do and not do, and I get it. And I think you can have those procedures internally, and I have them already. Like, I don't expect any of my staff to do anything other than come get me, and that's still what this states. But now I have to state it for the public. So that's kind of what I'm getting at. But I have a little bit to learn here, but I have some time, but I just figured I would bring this to your attention now. On a lighter topic, with June being Pride Month, we do our annual Rainbow Story Time. We had a really good show this year. It was last week, I think. About 30 people showed up, which was good. No issues, in years past I've received some comments about us doing that, so we didn't have anything like that this year. Before that, the adult team did a Learn Your Pronouns program, which was pretty well attended. I did get one community feedback on that who was concerned about are my taxes paying for this program, basically, kind of thing. And that one made my life a little bit easier because no, it was actually the organization doing it did it absolutely free. There was no cost to anybody, so that was a fairly easy answer. It was kind of a fun conversation because she said, I just think that the library should be here for everybody.
Duh.
I said, I totally agree. And so there you have it. But that was, I gave her all the information and where she wanted to attend it, and I encouraged her to attend it. I don't know if she did. It's if I have an opportunity to potentially educate somebody or give them something different to think about, I'll do it. But also, in the 2 years, this is my third summer here now. The first two, I've fielded a number of things in the month of June. That seems to be where a lot of people, for lack of a better way to say this, come out to argue against this type of programming. Thank you for laughing, excuse me. But, I get a little sarcastic about this, but, because it's like the rest of the year I don't hear anything about anything else we do. So it's whatever. But I'm proud of the programs we did and are still doing for that. And outside of Pride, if you are around this Friday, one of the many children's programs they're doing is summer reading. But this Friday is a group that performs and teaches breakdancing.
Oh yeah, I have that one on my calendar already.
Of course you do. As you should.
Yes, obviously.
So I just had to mention that because that sounded too fun.
Wait, this is the thing Friday.
Yeah.
Yeah, we'll be there.
It's this Friday.
It's
Yeah.
this Friday.
10 a.m.
We'll see
Yep.
you there.
I hope so. I mean, I have to convince a 10-year-old at 10 a.m. in the morning, so we'll see.
Oh well.
My kids
Oh,
have
yeah.
no choice in
Yeah.
either, so
She's
they
allowed to
go
stay
where I
home
go.
now,
They're
so.
accessories, really.
So that's my director's report.
Okay.
Yeah.
Are you giving any other reports under any other
No,
aliases?
I mean,
this evening?
no, that's it.
Thank you. That was a good one.
You're absolutely welcome.
Do you have reports from the friends this month? Anything you want to share?
It seems like the 3D printer is up and running.
Yeah, they're.
Yeah, I saw somebody using it.
Yeah,
I
you get
see.
5 hours free every week. It's kind of cool up there.
I've
Yeah.
seen someone using it every single
Yeah.
time I've gone up.
Yeah.
They have since it's early on, you can really get used if your children want to make a dragon or something. It's available.
My oldest is 4. I don't want her anywhere near.
It is safe.
I might do it, but
Yeah.
It's enclosed,
Yeah.
and you have to
Okay, we'll
take a
see.
course before you can use it.
Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. It has to be programmed.
Yeah.
Sorry, I didn't mean to steal your thunder. I was
that's
just really
okay.
excited about it.
That is pretty exciting.
Yeah. Yeah.
No, we're just dipping our toes into the foray of outreach, and so it's been kind of interesting, and we're having a lot of internal squabbles within our organization that we're trying to work through, which it's causing us to really look at some of the way we do things. So we're working through it, and
Change is hard.
a lot of change, and it's also like, wow, like it's like. So anyway, we realized that our website is completely out of date. It was done in 2006, and Jason here in the library said, "Oh my God, you got the worst website I've ever seen." And
You get a button for that.
I know. It's just so funny, and it's just like
Superlatives.
There you go. Visit the worst website you've ever seen on a button.
So, and,
It's like
and,
viral marketing.
and
or
the way it
something.
works, and anyway, the way it integrates with everything, and but it's just the previous boards and the previous people have just been limping along and not really worrying about it until all of a sudden in April everything just kind of exploded and blew us in my face, and we're just like, oh my God, thank you for just dropping this all on us. But anyway, we're working through it. We'll get it sorted out.
And we appreciate what you guys are doing.
Yeah, we're
I hope you
Yeah.
feel appreciated
Oh, we do.
in all
We
of
do.
the chaos.
Yeah, we do. And it's been kind of fun, actually, because who wants a boring time, right?
Good for you, go.
Yeah.
Good
So we're having,
You hired someone for the website, though, right?
well, we have a person that's, kind of managing our social outreach, social media outreach.
So
Bridget, actually, my daughter-in-law.
Okay.
She's so lucky. No, we've always had someone who managed the website. We just kind of think,
More or less.
yeah.
Right.
So we're actually looking for we're down to 5 people on our board now. 5 people on our board. We're really looking for more board members. If you've got any people that are brave enough to want to be on our board, we're sure looking for people. We're really looking for somebody with bookkeeping experience who wants to. Because we're down our treasurer resigned.
Text my mother.
And we're looking for a secretary. And we
And volunteer.
and we're going to be looking for a volunteer coordinator and a membership coordinator. We're going to be doing our board retreat is going to happen on July 15th, excuse me. We're going to sit down and really dive into all of our procedures. We have a huge agenda for our July retreat, and really looking at the way we do things and trying to kind of revamp things. So if you know anybody that's really interested in joining a dynamically changing board, let us know. And my number is 303-908-2060.
I mean, that's.
How many
that was
vacancies
recorded.
are there on the board?
I think we have 4 vacancies.
Do you take teens as well?
No,
Okay.
we do not want teens.
Okay.
I'm sorry. We want adults.
Yep.
experience.
Perfect.
I couldn't think of any off the top of my head anyway.
Oh,
I
I
just
know.
wanted, you know.
Well, good for you for taking it all on and trying to make it move forward.
Well, no, it
you know?
will move forward, and no,
Yeah.
I mean, the Friends do a lot, you know.
Yeah.
And really, our whole mission is to support the library, so that's easy. The mission will always
The
be
mission,
there.
yeah.
Support
It's-
literacy
yeah.
and the library.
Well,
Yeah.
the philosophical, the tweak,
It's the
just a
philosophical.
small one, is that we're trying to promote the distinction between fundraising and as an end in itself and fundraising as a means to an end.
Oh,
And that's
fascinating.
really what it is. And I think we've just sort of gone a little bit on a hamster wheel about that is the sole objective, and you start viewing everything through that. Was the book sale good enough? Did it really
So-
make a little bit more than last time? When really we're raising funds to support the library programs and promote literacy.
I see what
So
you're
if you
saying.
just get on a hamster wheel and all you're doing is fundraising,
Yeah.
Yeah.
what, you know, kind of like, what? That's not really a lot of fun. I mean,
Yeah.
it's not really what we're for. The Friends, you know, it's more really supporting the library. We need money, but we also need more outreach, and so anyway, there we are. That's our report.
Thank you. Susie, anything to report from council?
So tomorrow, oops, let me turn this. Tomorrow we are heading to Breckenridge for the Colorado Municipal League Conference.
Nice.
I believe Joan is staying. Joan was going to go. We were going to have the whole council there. But it looks like Joan will be staying and the rest of us will be gone. And so we'll be gone until Friday afternoon. Yeah, and then what are some of the things? So some of the big topics this last time: Quail Road annexation, airport noise. There was something else we dealt with that took a lot of time. And I know we're also looking at potential land swap for a composting facility near the Weld County Line Road. So I think it's on the Weld side of County Line Road on some city property. And we're looking at bringing in a regional or local composting facility. So that's kind of, we're doing all the environmental studies on the space. It'll be going to the Parks and Rec Advisory Board, and then it'll come back to us for final review and questions, either sending it back for revisions or accepting it. Yeah, and I don't know if anyone has any questions. Nope.
Not right now.
Okay. Does anyone have any other reports or info that they would like to share at this time? No. Library board comments. Would anyone like to comment about anything? Excellent. Next meeting is July 21st. It sounds like we will have a quorum as long as those of us
nothing
who
else
intend
happens.
to be there actually follow through. No broken legs. That's
Is
it.
there any interest in like proactively trying to move that so that somebody could be sick, or no?
I don't know that we need to do that now, but yeah, I mean, like we've been in situations where we've canceled something.
Okay,
We've had to reschedule
just cancel it. If
closer. Right. Okay. Yeah, I think we should try and make it happen. And on that note, we will adjourn at 9:04. Thank you, everybody, for your
AA participation. Yeah, now that we're